Thank you. All of our previous recordings, the ones that are on Diana Shimkus' channel, which is where on YouTube you'll be able to find any of our previous recordings, unless I sent it out as well, which I tried to do, um, had to be emptied. And so we lost last week, and I know some people didn't get a chance for that, so I apologize for that. I thought we would be best able to use time this way. I thought I'd just give some examples of emptiness versus relative truth. I wrote some thoughts about it, the quote that I have selected. And then I thought we could go into the direct practice because this will be our last try on it. And the truth is, the realities of our relative versus absolute truths are interconnected, interchangeable, and not separate. We have to begin there. So, this idea that we're parsing, there's this one and there's this one, is never true. We must begin there because then, if we create sides, what's the reality of side taking? We're going to tip in one of those directions, and we're going to tip unskillfully. We are going to tip with the potential for harm to self or other. We're going to miscommunicate. We're going to not understand each other because sometimes what happens is someone is speaking in one truth while someone else is speaking in another. Now remember, these truths are inter-R, but it doesn't sound like the same words. It doesn't sound like the same concepts. And if someone's talking relative and you're called what I have been accused of as Jesuit statements, the all encompassing truths, we'll miss each other until we have this depth of understanding that both are true, even when one doesn't appear to be holding the other. It is frequent that a relative truth, if we over focus on it, doesn't connect with anything else. It actually becomes what? A grip, a hard line, a just this. You've done it, I've done it. No, like this. And I'm getting goosebumps because what? Damage, pain, a disregard, a feeling of aggression, a feeling of not hearing, holding, regarding the other in a way we do not. I know that we do not, none of us intend, right? So these are all really good reasons to the first thing as you are listening or are speaking, recognize that because holding the two truths is virtually, it's so difficult that what you are likely saying is going into one of those sides that will now construct what? The other side. And so then you get, what do you call that? Feedback, pushback, right? Resistance, static, friction, Libby said, right? And we have to understand that we are also a part of that friction. It is not the other just coming, it's because, well, I'm holding a different facet of this uh, beautiful diamond. And can we then open? And this is our key word in our teaching here with Sodargi. Can we keep opening? Oh, that truth. Let me hear this truth, not in contrast, but in interconnection to this truth, because they are often mutually, equally true, right? What I say to couples when I work with them is, you are always both wrong. Begin there. The other truth is then, you are always both right. Begin there. And then you can feel it. There's nothing but open space to hold it, right? I hope this makes some sense for you. And we're going to be practicing it this week. because conflict is what will destroy ourselves and then our world, won't it? It is the thing. And we will be the ones, as well as there are infinite other ones who are saying we cannot operate this way. And thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, so here we are. Khenpo Sodargi, I took a quote right from the book. Here he says, emptiness does not mean nothing exists. This is the common misunderstanding. It means everything lacks separate, inherent, independent, solidified existence. Now, existence not there or not there, but cannot exist without every other thing. That's actually the definition of emptiness, not separate, not solid, not fixed. Things arise because of, by the way, infinite conditions, things we can both see, right? And things we cannot see, usually now being spoken by the person you are calling other. Usually spoken by that. Like, no, because I can't see that. That's not my window. And the answer is yes, also true, even if it's only experiential. Let's say that's the other's experience. If we are going to live in a peaceable, joyful, connected world, we have to open and include that. Because remember, another facet of the diamond, every facet, not quite pure in that it's only a part, right? Nothing, not you either, in its complete wholeness, without what? The other. This gives me goosebumps. No truth can be known without the conflicting reality. I know, folks, it's hard for me too. I practice all day, every day, and fail everything of the other. Cannot be known, cannot be held, then cannot be lived. And so what? Open. Let me see if I'm getting this. So when I said this, what happened for you was that my normal autopilot response is, you're nuts. I didn't A, say that. B, I certainly didn't mean that and can clarify it. Doesn't work. Why? I have to first hold that as relevant, relative experience. And consequently, immediately grow larger. Don't I? That heart mind has to get bigger right now. All suffering, then, we could define all suffering as simply a contraction against a truth. Not against a wrong. This is our favorite definition. Not against a wrong, against a truth we don't like, we don't want, we don't agree with. And then you go, oh, the Buddha said all suffering comes from one source, the deluded, limiting, separating mind. All suffering, not from the truth, doesn't mean it won't be painful. But all suffering comes from that my truth, you're crazy. Okay, here's the commentary then. Emptiness describes how things exist, not whether they exist. We get caught there. Well, like I see the pillow, so how is it that the pillow is empty? It describes a quality of the pillow, not the existence of the pillow. The pillow exists by infinite factors, yarns and people who made it. We could go on endlessly. It's really to the beginning of all time. So not whether it exists. This becomes a much easier truth to hold. Because things are dependent, interconnected, they cannot be fixed or permanent ever, even when you say, oh no, it's true, they're jerks. No, No, not true. And we all have jerky moments, is true, very likely. This allows for a transformation. This is an essential transformation of view, the first of the Noble Eightfold Path, a transformation of view. All suffering is now workable because it all is now has to do with how I, me, the mind that is arising, passing, can expand view. I can open to include this. In fact, says the Buddha, you are not accidentally placed here. You are placed here by causes and conditions, and in fact, then exactly the teaching, exactly the thing you were going to close to, exactly the thing you couldn't hear, exactly. And then the work was what? Can I recognize the cause of suffering? Actually, only one. Drive all blames into one. It says it doesn't really mean blame. It means opportunity to see, what am I contracted around? What am I refusing about the other, about life, about, right? And then consequently, I can begin a process of holding myself in my own pain and fear, right? This is the self-compassion practice. I can hold myself here. Absolute truth reveals the nature of all experiences as open and fluid. That's all. Let's just leave it there. Absolute truth shows things in their nature, which is arising and passing, coming and going, impermanent, not reliable, not fixed, not yours. None of it, not even your thought, is yours. Why? It is also based on infinite arising and passing causes and conditions, not you, because we don't define you in that limited relative truth. Relative truth still functions and is necessary, by the way. We act compassionately and wisely within it. And that's why we put on our pants, we brush our teeth, we say hello to people, right? There's right actions. And we ring bells when we're ready to start the teaching, right? These are just simple relative truths. Everyday life example, a loved one's going through a heartbreak. This, I use my example with my son because I'd already shared it. The relative truth was his pain was real. Can you imagine the harm I would have done had I just rested in some absolute truth? This is just a part of life. Get over it. Many of these are going to come and go. You will do well to learn how to hold them and work through them. All true, not helpful. Absolute truth is pain. Even the pain, even the heartbreak, even the grief is not solid and does not define us. Isn't it true? It doesn't mean it doesn't matter either, but it does not define who we are. How we hold it, how we use it defines ultimately something about us. Understanding both gives us room to hold them steadily and equally. I can open to both actually continuously. And we're doing a little kind of back and forth because it's hard to hold them both in the oneness, but it is a part of the path to eventually go, I can see both truths here. And then His Holiness the Dalai Lama, here's his quote: when you look for the I that seems so solid, you cannot find them, I would say. What you find instead is a collection of parts. This unfindability is, in fact, the truth of emptiness. Like, where are you? Who are you? And it is a Zen koan, right? Who is thinking? Who is, right? Okay, here's the commentary from me. The sense of me comes from many changing parts, not just body, not just thoughts, not just emotions, not just memories, but a continuing confluence and conflux of these realities. That thing we call me is not static, fixed, stuck, or permanent. in any way. It's continuously changing, i.e., the change of your mood, the change of your beliefs, the change of your thoughts, the change of your experiences. This time I didn't, this time I did, right? It's just in the wave. No single part can be defined as a real I, not even awareness itself. We do not take claim of consciousness. It's one of our, we call it last hidden cave for where me likes to hang out. Me, the consciousness. You are not the only consciousness. There's infinite consciousness of which you are a part. It is not yours. That awareness is not your awareness. Do not mistake it. It is a big major error because then you do crazy things like call yourself enlightened or yourself knowing or your right, and look at the mistake. Knowing what? Nothing, because I'm just here now with this infinite reality and confluence, and there is no constant I in it, even when we say, no, that was me before because I remember it. And oh, by the way, folks, you do not. The neuroscience truth is you picked up less percentage of that moment than you actually think you did. You just grabbed the few strands you got and called it the truth. Can everybody hear this? You grabbed a few and then went, that was it. This was experience. I've got it now. I'm wiser, smarter, more compassionate, more loving, or the worse, right? We do both. Neither is an improvement. I'm the most terrible, horrible, and there neither is accurate as the truth. This insight weakens us, equaling self-blame, rigidity, judgment, or aggression, both towards self and other, right? Contractedness happens. No, it is like this. This is the fixed facts. Understanding emptiness fosters compassion towards self and others. This is also very hard because what we imagine is if I really understand everything in its fluidness, where would compassion come in? Because the truth of this is hard to hold. The truth of this means letting go of everything, ultimately. Not taking hold, no handles, says Pema. Nothing to grip, grab, and say mine to at all. And this is hard work because now we rest then, don't we, in this infinite, vast, empty space called groundlessness. Nothing to go, I've got it. Even the idea of groundlessness. No. Because what? The minute you grab groundlessness, something's happened in front of you that looks pretty solid and requires attention, care, response, right? So you can't just go everything fluid. I'll just sit here. It reduces reactivity because you see others and their conditioned reality also. And you feel for us all, don't you? Because every grip, every contraction, every causes, what did we say? Suffering. Not just for you, for everyone. The person gripping and everyone who experiences that grip. Because what? We are interconnected. It is a ripple effect, even in the smirk. And you go, well, nobody really saw that. Yes, they did. And if they didn't see it, they felt it. And now it's everyone's to hold. And so how we live in the world becomes then very, very relevant. Here's the example. Someone cuts you off in traffic. The relative truth, scary. Potential harm. Irritating. Judgments arise. A contraction naturally occurs. Of course it does. This is our relative truth. The absolute truth is this person is also ever changing. They may not have even known you were there. They were on a phone call with the person and just found out they have a diagnosis, right? We don't know the circumstances. We only know scary, contracted, blame. You did it to me. It's your fault if you weren't there. And the person you're yelling at now is not the same being. This very person you're going, brr, and they are never your enemy. They are your opportunity. Seeing this softens the reaction. One of the teachings that I learned, actually, we're going to Thich Nhat Hanh, from Thich Nhat Hanh, was see everything as occurring without intention, because it's infinite cause. It's not that person alone. And so, like an empty car, an empty boat is an old Zen story. If an empty boat hit you, you would not have the reaction that you would have had the person intentioned this. And we ascribe intention frequently, don't we? We think we know something that we cannot know. Thich Nhat Hanh, he says, emptiness means empty of separation, empty of solidity, of separate self. A flower is made of non-flower parts, right? Sunshine, rain, minerals, time, consciousness. Because it is empty of a separate self, it is full of, well, he says entire cosmos. We could simply say everything, couldn't we? It's now full of everything. And then if that's true, because it is, how do you live? If it's full of everything and everything matters, how do we relate to it? And Thai was the best. He said, with love, with care, with compassion, even towards anger, even towards rage, even. We understand it first, and then we can respond lovingly, compassionately. Commentary. Emptiness means everything is interdependent. You've heard me say that 1,000 times. Nothing exists alone. Everything is made of everything. Emptiness reveals connection, not the void. This is so hard for us. Emptiness is the space in which everything is interconnected. And this insight reduces our fear and isolation, not creates it. We can no longer see any occurrence as something not a part of which I am a part, even when I didn't see it, even when I didn't know it, even when, right, I am still some essential part, even then in my ignorance. Even then in my ignorance. And then how do we form relationship to that truth? I don't know. I don't see how those causes and conditions created this arising impermanent reality. And then finally, it opens a sense of gratitude and reverence for life. Then you just see everything as precious. Now I look out at the yard and I think, it would appear to be mere luck that I have as many healthy plants as I do. And to some extent, it's true, because I happen to live in a place that's likely going to be a support to most of those plants. Lucky me, because I didn't even know it when I planted them, right? And then you cultivate wisdom and understanding and right relationship. And then, right, you can propagate the good. But couldn't take really too much responsibility beyond my genuine interest, attention, and aspiration to contribute care, right? That I can. But that I cannot take credit for. Here's the everyday life example. You drink a cup of tea. Relative truth, it's warm, soothing, fragrant, or coffee. Absolute truth, the tea contains clouds, rain, earth, farmers, transport. This is again Thay's greatest teaching, the teaching of interbeing. Seeing the tea's emptiness, impermanence, temporary reality allows us to enjoy it most fully. Here's Pema. Emptiness is the openness that arises when we stop trying to solidify our world, or she calls it look for babysitters or handles. When we stop clinging or grabbing or clutching or a freshness, a spaciousness, a naturalness, we could say effortlessness. and love arises. We can simply hold it in a kind of large container of heart mind that we call love, right? Without the grip grab. Commentary. Emptiness is experienced when we release the grip of certainty. It is like this. If you're saying it this week, know you now that arising is the cause of certain conflict and certain suffering. It is like this. Never skillful, never useful. Even when someone's hair's on fire, the conversation will not be the point, will it? It will just be, we're just doing what we need to do. We can talk about that. We do this with children every day. You're not going to like having to put your shoes on to go to school. We're just going to do it because we have this conventional reality, and we understand there will be some natural resistance. You need to put your shoes on. Like, I didn't think so, really. I like my feet. I'm happy to look at them all day, is also true. And we all understand that truth, which is why we come home from something and, right, off goes the mask. It brings flexibility instead of rigidity. We hold everything more lightly, everything in larger space, everything is impermanent, and so there's nothing to grip. It's like grabbing a cloud. Emptiness is not abstract, which is what we tend to do with that word. It's felt as an open, loving space. You know it. I know it too. Right? It says here between thoughts. I wouldn't have said that now. I'd say within, around, and between. Thoughts are everywhere in it. But we don't grab those either, because love is not a thought. It allows us to respond rather than react. Always. Always. This is the essence of response. Our own connection to the realities, both those we like and those we don't. And it brings an essential tenderness, as well as a courage, which I love. And I notice this in my own life, both a tenderness and an essential courage to the moment. Everyday life example, you're having a difficult conversation. There's a tightness, an emotion, a defensiveness. There could be a rising energy, a heat, the voice contracts. And in the absolute truth, these experiences are just waves, continuously coming and going. There's nothing actually stuck or fixed except the mind that's holding them and likely contributing to their construction. There is no grip that's permanent. There is no pain. There is no grief that is permanent. It is ever changing in its reality, as are you. Recognizing the emptiness of the tense moment can open a space for greater compassion, understanding, or wisdom. And here's the final. This is a teacher of PEMS, a teacher of PEMS also, and he's quite funny. As I understand it, I don't know him well. All appearances are mind, and mind is empty or emptiness. Emptiness is spontaneous presence. Why? If I'm holding nothing and just arriving, what could be larger than that interface, that interconnection? If I don't come to the party with, this is going to be horrible, I might actually be able to make connection with people or things or, right, the experience itself in some way. This is the natural state. This is who we really are. Commentary, thoughts and emotions arise like images in a dream, vivid but insubstantial, and they cannot be kept. There's no gripping, grabbing, holding them. We all know this. Mind itself has no shape or boundary, so it is understood to be empty or ever arriving, ever expanding, ever changing. Mind itself, not constant, not fixed, not mine. Emptiness allows endless creativity and experience. This is where artists, you go, I have no idea how you came up with that, because they were beyond limit with seeing what we conventionally see in a whole fresh, new, unique way. Also, by the way, empty way, because you saw it too, if you connected with it. It wasn't just them in any way. Emptiness is not nothingness, it's actually the definition of liberation. Emptiness is the definition of liberation, not stuck anywhere. Not as a me, and not as a you, and not as a this, and not as a that. And now, consequently, what? Completely open, fresh relationship with how this is this moment, including our own stuckness, forming right relationship there. I can even hold this in its understanding. And understanding this loosens the grip of our reactivity, our judgments, our blame, our aggression. Here's the everyday example. You're mentally replaying an argument. I do this often because I'm a wordy, right? So I said this, and then that, they said that. And so when I said this, how did that? And the relative truth, the replay feels vivid and real. It's not. It's just your particled remembering, of which most is inaccurate. This is the truth. Most of it is not seen clearly, but through the veil of your causes and conditions. You are not even perceiving correctly, though we take solid claim. So this is what I said, and this is what they said. Absolute truth. The entire scene is a mental projection, arising, changing, dissolving, just perceptions or ghosts floating around. You cannot see. If you are in contraction, there is no capacity to see, feel, know clearly. And seeing this, the replay loses its power and dissolves naturally. Then I asked you to think of an example. And you guys have this. If there's somebody there who doesn't have it, just write me in chat. I hope you do. I intended for you to have it. So I'm just going to take a breath in a moment before the practice to see if this is helpful towards your understanding. Are we getting it? I think we are. I think we are. Remember, these are among the most difficult teachings, but they are also among the most important. You can see why, because if we can't hold these two truths, we cannot be skillful. Consequently, we cannot be loving. Jean, I see you. Hello, good morning. Come on.
Morning, everybody. How important, Diana, is it when going through daily life and those examples that you gave us to look for, oh, is this relative or is this absolute? And my question comes from actually my response to last week and the comments about the conversation. I did not in my mind look for that distinction, but as I worked through what is this guilt from, what was said, who am I blaming, etc., I was able to do what you're describing, but I wasn't going, well, that's empty and I'm in the relative. And so, and I had trouble with the homework this week because I was like, well, so I want to know, are you saying, hey guys, you need to start identifying what's what?
Yes, I actually am, Jean. I
Okay.
don't think we're going to get it otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a practice also.
Mm.
I think we often get to it though, Jean, just like you're saying, over time, with space, with reflection, with contemplation, when we're not gripped, when we're not contracted, remember, because we're blind there.
Mm-hmm.
As
Mm-hmm.
time and space allow, we start going, now, wait a minute. Actually, I don't know if she was actually irritated. I don't have any real evidence that she was irritated. I don't, wait a minute. I get to be me just like everyone here does. And you can count on me for trying to make sure we can hold you and the whole reality called the Sangha together. I think that's also possible, right? No problems there. And yes, I think we have to have practices. And remember some of the practices then from last week, which was, can I begin with, can I open this simple practice? Can I open for one breath to whatever it is I'm gripping being a part of my delusion?
Mm, okay.
Because if you're in the grip, you're deluded for sure. It's not random or if you
I,
go grr, go, I'm insane. I can't see clear. And I mean in a fun way, not in a
no, no, no. And that's why I think I asked, because
yeah,
I'm pretty quick at going, oh, this is deluded.
yes.
But
But
I don't
but
use the term
solidify
develop.
the you that you think is deluded, Gene.
Right. Okay.
You you've gripped her pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
But delusion is not you, neither is it yours.
Okay.
Actually, you're taking too much
The
credit
credit. Yeah.
for your crazy. And we use words like your, but not meaning you, human, right? The
Mm-hmm.
human obstruction, the
Okay.
human tendency to do it. And you just go, me. That
Yeah.
was me. And that was her. And now we got trouble.
And that was all of them. I mean, I got everybody in
Don't we?
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
somebody wrote a letter to Zoom, probably going, you guys, how did you let that on across the wave? Endless. But once we're there, the contraction also has a ripple effect, by the way, not just the good news, which I talk about a lot. That contraction is like a suck into a hole, a very tiny, very small, very black hole.
And that's my question. Isn't it more important? And I'm fine if it's not. But what I've been finding in my own practice is the quicker I get to, and I have to use I or me, the
Yeah.
quicker I can get to, I don't want to be here. This is not right thinking.
Yeah, I would just like,
Not go in the hole,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Not get,
don't go. Don't go.
yeah.
This is saving every infant from every electric outlet, isn't it?
Okay.
Don't go. But
Okay.
it's not with harshness. It's not with criticism. It comes from love, Jean.
But it's not don't go because you're in the relative and you want to be in the absolute or that's
Well,
what I'm
it is
trying.
the truth. That's not what we have to think, though. We don't need that thinking.
Okay. That was my
No,
question.
I think we can make it simpler. If you notice a moment of contraction, pause
Okay.
and open to include yourself.
And myself. Okay.
Not as Jean, but in this human incarnation that is now in a moment of suffering. Could we say that?
Oh yeah.
Could we say recognizing a moment of distress and open rather than validate, rationalize, or blame?
Mm-hmm.
Any and all of it's, going to do more damage, as we know. And what about that? Just recognizing this moment of contraction, this moment of harshness, this moment of grip. And you can feel the difference. We've got infinite apparatus here. I can't remember the number of nerve endings. I'd have to ask one of the gyms, right? I don't remember, but it's billions, all signaling an essential truth. And from this place, the beautiful work is to turn towards who? Well, the one is the answer. Where's that? Anywhere you can. Anywhere you can. Turn towards the one who, anyone, anything you can to hold it. Sometimes me, sometimes not me. Okay. And right, we in our self-compassion practice point towards us, but really sometimes that's not yet available. But I can see the harm when someone says, I thought you were irritated. I don't want this. I can feel for that, both in me and for everyone, can't I? And now I'm more open.
Would you say that being able to respond versus react, you are then closer to being in both the relative and the ultimate?
Yes. So Libby said, wouldn't it then be true that if you were responding versus reacting, you would be holding these essential truths in some closer proximity? And the answer would be yes, including yourself. Even to say, here I am guilting. Here it is, guilting happening. And Joseph Goldstein's practice is to keep the pronouns out as an essential practice. And I love that practice, which is not I, but really this occurring, this arising, this happening, this passing. And if we can see it in a more neutral way, not take claim or rejecting it, we're already in better relationship to it. Guilt arising, well, this is a human experience. And now you can immediately, Jean, feel for all of us.
Yeah, because if I'm guilty, there's already the judgment.
And the contraction. Can't you feel it, everyone? Couldn't you feel it the minute Jean said, if I'm guilty? And you could feel collapse into it. Guilt arising. Guilt is a part of this human experience. Of course it is. Now look, we're open. We didn't just make guilt a problem. We made it an experience that we've all had and will have again. Not the problem. Is it not the problem? So we don't want to mistake it, right? So can we invite some repetitive phrasing? This occurring, this happening, this changing. Can we eliminate pronoun? I, me, mine, your. Now, in conversation, there's no way out of it. So don't get ridiculous, right? Because we're then denying the relative. Anger arising. Really? Who the fuck are you talking about? Said my husband lovingly. Yeah, I actually did do that. Yes, I did. Who's here in the room? I thought it was just me. Where is it? And he's a pretty concrete guy. So don't do it. It's not skillful. It's not friendly. It's not understandable. And now we have denied the relative. No benefit. There is no benefit. Let me look at chat quick and then we're going to practice. Lovely connections. Wonderful. Thank you. Let's get ready to sit.
Oh.
Jean, thank you always. Illuminating.
Thank you.
This is big work, folks. Remember, we have 2,600 years of and plus of trying to understand this so that we do not propagate harm and suffering for ourselves and others. I'm getting my shawl. Find whatever you need to be comfortable. And so we're going to begin really just allowing the body to settle in a bit and be watchful about carrying into the practice now ideas. I'd like you to let go of that conversation for right now. We can come back to it later so that we can come into stillness. allowing the body to settle with each breath. I'm going to try to talk up because I do know that my voice can get hard to hear. So I'm going to try to stay active. See if you can find that place of ease within the body. And sometimes I make contact with that for myself in just the quiet around me, or the spaciousness around me. I then look for where that's matching in my own body. I begin there. The first foundation of mindfulness is first in the body, in the concreteness, so that we don't just live in flimsy concepts. And then we set the aspiration of bodhicitta, this heart that has the capacity to hold all beings, those that are guilty, those that are irritating, right together, connected, human, loving. May all beings benefit. We're going to stay centered in the body awareness for a moment, just letting each out breath drop us a little bit more into our relative truth. This body, this chair. The cushion, the earth, all holding you effortlessly. And we invite that same holding of you holding the truth of that. This is your holding, the truth that everything supporting you right now. Let the breath be natural. Let the heart open to this shared practice, this shared experience, known differently and similarly. And this open, available, and receptive mind. These are the preconditions to wisdom, to love. And we feel the body, its warmth, its breathing, its presence. And then we realize that we're living primarily in this moment. We're placing attention here in the relative our sensations as they're arising and passing, maybe thoughts or feelings. The immediacy of this present moment known by this body and the 5 sense doors. And there's nothing to get rid of here. This is just an investigation, an inquiry, just being awake to the truth of this relative reality called the body, the ticking clock. See if we can breathe just a little bit more deeply here. so that we don't collapse or contract around any of the objects, but create a space, a warmth in a room for it all. There's nothing to change here. We're just resting in relative reality. This is a beautiful beginning to all practice. And then we begin to recognize, this is the cultivation of our mindfulness practice. We begin to recognize that none of the objects are graspable, solid, fixed, or permanent. Everything is in its arising and passing. The breath, the thoughts. We just simply rest back, letting them come and go. This is the brilliant display of relative truth. The world of experience, of story, of meaning, and perception, all a part of this relative reality, not to be diminished. We don't grasp on to these experiences. We're going to see if we can allow them, accept them without contracting an I, me, or mine around them. See if we can just rest in the flow. Everything arising and passing. In these practices, remember that we do not see thoughts, these flashes of language, of imagery, of objects, as a problem. There's no resistance, there's no difficulty here. Just continuous change being held in awareness. Everything in motion. Dynamic, organic, and you, an essential part. And if a particularly strong experience arises, an itch, I just had a little left ear itch, an emotion, a particular believed thought, see if we can simply invite that opening into the flow. This too is changing. Letting that continuous dance of impermanence reveal itself. And let it include this idea of you. Nothing solid, fixed, or permanent here either. Now we're going to see if we can begin a gentle distinction, but remember these things are never separate between the objects themselves, including the object of you, and that which knows them. See if you can sense that this knowing awareness that we will not claim as I, me, or mine is not in conflict. Is not in resistance and clinging. There is no judging within awareness. It simply opens and receives. Now, this knowing awareness is not separate from the objects, and the objects are not separate from the knowing. They are interbeing. If I asked you to find this knowing awareness, where is it? It would be impossible to find. It is not a shape, a color, a size. It has no boundary. It cannot be grasped or held. It can only be known. And it's known in this interesting way, like vast open space. And some intelligence in it. It has an energy, we use the word luminosity, interrelationship, interconnection. And has no capacity to contract. This is not only a lens through which we see reality, it is reality and is yours and mine. See if we can rest in this spaciousness. You do not mistake yourself for the seen or the seer. The Buddha says, you are not separate, you are both, you are neither, just so that we have nowhere to land. Sensations cannot be known without this knowing presence. And yet each sensation, for example, each thought is arising within a capacity of boundless awareness, resting right there, interconnected in absolute truth, that boundless awareness. We can hold each thought then as a relative truth. We can feel its appearance, see it, sense it, know it, but each thought also held in its non-clinging, insubstantial, non-personal, sky-like quality of mind, the absolute truth. Pema frequently says, we are the sky, not the weather. And she's partially correct. She's speaking to that absolute truth. But we don't deny the weather either. We recognize it as weather, as a wave, as a brief appearance. As a part of the whole. Nothing has a solid or fixed nature. Just the continuing wave of experience held in that vast open sky. Appearances and emptiness, form and space, working together in this open nature. And if you notice something that is particularly thorny or sticky, you can simply say, this arising, this being experienced. You can name the thing: anger, fear, confusion. In the relative, it is wholly accurate. In the absolute, we might say this has no solid core. And the teachings that I am most connected to, this is not me. This is not mine. This is not I. Appearances arising in this vast open awareness. There's nothing to demand or force. There's nothing to figure out here. Just feeling that spaciousness of awareness. That's its nature. We can hold the breath moving in its relative reality within it, around it, no difficulty. We rest in that simplicity. We cultivate that openness. We release, we rest, we soften into this gentle unity of these two essential truths. Whatever benefits, whatever calm, whatever clarity has arisen here, let it become a cause for happiness, for ease, for peace, for ourselves and for this world. May all beings remember that this is their true nature. May we remember that it is our nature and the nature of all beings and all things. This is a truth beyond confusion, beyond grasping, beyond fear. May the benefits and the merits of this practice flow outward in ever increasing and expanding circles to include all beings, all things, and helping us remember that we are a part of the family of all things. May it all be well. May all beings be well. So be it. So why don't we use the last few minutes to do two things if we can. One is to talk about any examples that we experienced in the week where we could hold these two truths, noticing both the relative reality as well as that holding container called awareness, in which we noticed, and how that impacted your situation. Just a few short sentences about that, maybe. And then let's review before our prayer just some of the ways we might be able to practice. And as Jean was saying, it was a hard week for practice because this is a very important on the spot practice. And by the way, by the time you are in contraction, the practice has gone out the window for that brief moment. But it doesn't mean in the next moment that you are now not available, because the suffering of that is going to be clear. You are going to notice the pinch, the grip, the sadness, the depression, the grief, the confusion, the guilt. Well, this is all beautiful material for waking up. Beautiful material. Look at the beauty of this body to inform us about right and wrong direction. And then look how precise it is. Look at its precision. That is wiser than you. isn't it? Because, right? And then you know it. And our sensitivity, our growing cultivation of recognition of that is this essential practice. Any examples?
Yep. To get up a ladder or not get up a ladder
Yep.
for my lights.
Yep. To get up a
And so-
ladder and not get up a ladder. One
and
is
so-
the joy, right?
Yeah. And so finally got up the ladder and down the ladder, up and down, and the lights are up and things are sparkling.
Yes. Dennis, would there have been a way for that to be okay, even if the lights didn't get up?
Yes, it would have been. Yep. It would have been okay.
Because I had a 100-year-old grandfather who decided to climb an orange tree to get the final 2 oranges at the top of that tree. And whatever else was true, his commitment to it was solid. It may not have been most skillful. And out of that lack of skill, some other harms, other pains could have easily occurred. Now, the good news is 16 stitches later, he was still alive. But can we hold those 2 truths as well as his commitment and his love, right? All there, as well as, well, that was working, but remembering that he was 100 got forgotten for a moment. And by the way, had he fallen and died, we would have all been joyful and sad, wouldn't we? All of it would have been true. And could we have held both? And the answer is some and not some, depending on what side you grab. Right? Any other examples?
I wrote one in the chat, but I'll say it super briefly. So my ex and my son are in a disagreement or having trouble in their relationship. And so I'm trying to hold the truth and look from both sides, but it's so hard for me not to hate my ex-husband, right? Because of all this prejudice. And then that reflects on how I relate to my son, which reflects on their relationship. So I'm trying my best.
Yes. Just to know that, Robin, is a beautiful piece of wisdom. And I even hear, I think, a little bit of compassion for the challenge and the difficulty of that. Not such an easy thing. And then you're also saying the way I have perceived, you use a beautiful word there, my husband, rather than my husband the asshole, which would have been a lot easier to say. But my perceptions about my husband as ever changing, as well as my husband, X, right? Neither of these things, in fact, are fixed. Neither is the you who is perceiving fixed, and your very recognition that your bias is very likely impacting everyone is also very skillful, isn't it? That my hatred, my pain, my old memories, remember dust, are influencing, impacting the contractedness, then the difficulty and the conflict of potentially others, and in its recognition, already liberating, already less so. Look at that. And what you do then, right? Don't know, just less so when I realize I'm not sure that's the impact that I want. I'm not sure that I want my son to only see his father through my perception of my ex-husband, right? That's all very skillful,
Very much.
very skillfully done. And you're already understanding the consequence, which is likely challenges and conflict for them that you don't want, right? That you don't want, won't benefit them, and may be necessary, would be an absolute truth, right? Even without you,
Yeah.
even without your bias, even just may be a part of this thing called autonomy and growing up and finding one's own way, and right, even
Yeah, right.
even if you, no matter what your relationship to your ex might be. And could we hold both? And the answer is easily, couldn't we? Like there may be a point of contribution here, and there is very likely a point that has not so much to do with me, that has to do with them and their growth and
Yeah.
their development and and I'm just going to take care of my side of the street in this and make sure that I'm not being a contracted contribution by just by the very recognition is already happening. That's a lovely example. Thank you so much.
Okay.
One more, and then I think we will review the homework. Libby has one.
Well, nobody else.
Nobody's talking, so go ahead. Just talk up, will you?
It was just to versus yesterday and this morning. So yesterday, find out an employee is doing some things that got me hot. I came in hot.
Triggered you.
Yeah. And I could feel the anger and the righteous indignation of, you're not taking advantage of me or us.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, now I didn't talk to the person yet, versus this morning to have more, again, openness, patience. It became more of an inquiry and wanting to collaborate in my mind rather than just blame and give rules or in that remembrance of both those truths.
Yes, that's
rather
right.
than just seeing the person as
The
corrupt,
problem.
a liar, or this or that.
Yeah.
I'm going, again, it just gave me more of an interest to go, what is going on?
Yeah.
Rather than already identifying what I assumed or think is the problem or
Blame. Or,
yeah. So it created a lot more openness, patience, and inquiry than I
yes.
had yesterday.
Could everybody hear Libby struggle with an employee? Libby's now in a management position, and that's equaling changes too. And like, I don't totally know how to do that yet. That's its own active practice. And then an employee with maybe some potential for learning and how to stay open to that rather than collapse around you're just trying to take advantage of, or I've got to be the one to fix that or set the limits or any of that. Yeah, these are lovely examples. Thank you all so much. So I think simple practices. The simple practice is dropping in on purpose several times in the day with intent, right? We set the timer. I'm going to awaken to this, to say, where am I leaning? Where am I hanging out? Am I just handling relative truth without being open and spacious about the fluid, continuous, and permanent nature? Be careful, because remember, either side will equal suffering. Either side without the two is going to equal a certain limitation and contractedness. See if you can open to the other side. How about that? What would it mean to say that person just said blankety blank in a harsh voice, and I understand where aggression arises from? Aggression arising, or in you, blame arising. This is a part of our human condition. Could we add that? This is a part of the human condition, not separate, and not separate from you. Whatever it is, whichever side you're on, can we open to include the other possibility? And this is a part. And in the recognition of contractedness, remember, we are no longer in that very moment as contracted. The very recognition itself is the beginning of freeing us from its grip, a thought field grip, and then we come back into the body, stabilize, rest there, create flow. Where's the flow, folks? Right there in the breath. There it is. It can't, right? It's expanding and contracting, arising and passing. It is its own instructor, isn't it? We don't even need to go, I've got to open. You are naturally opening in the in-breath. Just take it in, rest in it for a minute. How many breaths does it take? Well, we know in a moment of reactivity, 10 to 20. We know that. Do we always have 10 to 20? Not necessarily, but if we want to change the field of contractedness, it will require this. Is it the most beautiful practice I know? Yes, because it saves a lot of harm and suffering. Can I go back to the breath in the body? Relative truth, just knowing something about how I am. And if I feel, sense, or know that contractedness, can I just stay with myself rather than think, I've got to, blah, because that's usually the beginning of a pain cycle. And give it a little space. I would recommend give it a little space. Does this seem like a workable practice? This is a part of being human. I'm leaning on a side. I can feel it. How do I know it? It's pulling on me. It's contracted. It's small. It's gripping. It's limited. What's the best practice? In its recognition, can I just come home? Can I just be with me, creating a sense of greater space, wave, fluidity, movement, wave, call it whatever you will, and a larger field in which to respond. And most things will allow for that 10 to 20 breaths. Most things, not everything. Not everything. And we understand the limits of that as well. So Chris writes, the conditions and circumstances, all that's relevant, the failing relationship that brought me here, the relative truth, and now the epiphany and want is also true. I see her as an angel and there's nothing left but love. This is exactly correct. This is exactly correct. And then only love. This is how you know.
I have to share this one thing, sorry, real quick. But yesterday I went to show somebody was going to buy a container, a dome, and I've been depressed about losing the property and feeling like I kind of messed up by not keeping it, being able to keep it, and all these things going through my head of this contractedness and negativeness. And these two women that came to see, one brought her flute and she played it under the olive tree, and we had this little circle. It was just out of the blue, the most beautiful thing. And we started talking, and I felt comfortable and shared with them my suffering that I'm experiencing. And they brought me this beautiful other outlook of, like, hug the trees around, make your goodbyes, but you're always here. Your presence will be here. You're not really saying goodbye because you're always going to be a part of this. And it was like so heartfelt. It was just, it changed my whole outlook.
Yes.
And it was just, I feel like it's kind of what you're talking about. It was an opening, and there was that emptiness that it wasn't, I didn't have to, it didn't have to be mine to be connected, and
that's love.
it was amazing.
Yes, it is amazing. And then isn't it true that that property could never be without you, and you could never be without it? And whether you live on it or you don't live on it doesn't have too much to do with love or aspiration or inspiration or the contribution you have made to its then going on to become probably something even more amazing, right? That you are a part of that stream. And how wonderful.
That's kind of was the result of the conversation. Yes, and it changed the whole.
Lovely. And it's absolutely true. And Felicia, you get to grieve the relative truth of I won't be living there. Right? Just a part of the truth. I will not be physically present there, not regularly or every day, or I'm not going to wake up there every day. And then you get to feel all the things you feel about that within that large container, right? In the large container called all the beautiful contribution, impact, and benefit of your time there, which, by the way, ends up equaling a whole human life, doesn't it? Because none of us get to stay. We just have these momentary impacts is actually the truth. Right? One person, one breath, one residence, one at a time. And we all love the idea that we can keep it all, but that's not its way, and it is not best. Right? And then we flow and open into another. These are lovely, lovely. Thank you for sharing that also, Felicia. It's already past time. Can we say our prayer? And forget about this business of loving and living. And so bringing our hands together. May I be a guard for those who need protection, a guide for those on the path, a boat, a raft, a bridge, for those who wish to cross the flood. May I be a lamp in the darkness, a resting place for the weary, a healing medicine for all who are sick, a vase of plenty, a tree of miracles. And for the boundless multitudes of living beings, may I bring sustenance and awakening, enduring like the earth and the sky, until all beings are freed from sorrow and all are awakened. And may our practice today contribute to that ever expanding reality of open space filled with love. And may our practice today make it so. So be it. Thank you so much. We will be moving on to chapter 6, which is on karma and rebirth. It will make a lot of sense now. By the way, it will fit well into our holding of two truths so we don't go, am I reborn? And what am I reborn as? And is it an ant or a hawk? And the answer is yes and no to all of that. We don't have to worry about it. You were always a part of all of it, by the way. You just didn't know it yet. And so that will be next Tuesday. We will be doing Saturday in the Garden. Please join us. We are going to be doing Philabelly this Thursday at 6:30, serving at 6:30. Please join us. If you don't make a meal, it's not, or bring an item, it's not the point. There are people there. We can help with the recycling. We can help them get to their place. It is the holy season. Always, actually. And so we can participate and contribute. If you can't do that, there are about 100 other things we could use your help in doing, including getting to San Diego Food Bank next Wednesday to get the final load for St. Andrews. We won't be doing St. Andrews now. We have contributed to San Diego Food Bank and a lot of turkeys. But remember, we are very active in staying involved in what's happening here. My friend Deb Martin from Elder Help is going to be coming on one Saturday soon to talk about how we might help the homebound seniors in San Diego who actually don't mostly get out of their houses. during this time. It feels important to me that we make a contribution in some way to that. I'm hoping to get Deb on this week or next. And so make sure I'll write something about that. And here's little man to say hello and goodbye. Right there. There he is. Here's little man. Be well, everyone. Thank you so much for your contributions, your blessings, your love. May all be well. Thank you. Thank you. I'll see you on Thursday with Greg before Saturday. Thank you, everyone. Take good care.